The kingdom of my divine will in the midst of creatures. Book of Heaven, Volume 35, Part 4. October 3rd, 1937. Prodigies of Creation. Dose of power and of sanctity that God put out for love of man. The acts done in the Fiat will be always new, and each one more distinct and beautiful than the other. These acts will enclose everything, and will form the speaking seeds, works, and steps of their Creator. I was praying my round in creation in order to trace all the acts of the divine volition, to make them mine, embrace them, adore them, and place my little I love you in recognition of how much the divine will has loved me, and has done for me and for all. Oh, how many surprises! How many new things one comprehends! How many divine secrets of their Creator do created things contain! And my always lovable Jesus, visiting my little soul, seeing me surprised, told me, "My daughter, our works are always new, and they harmonize with their Creator. There is so much harmony between them and us, that they always know how to say new things about the He who created them. More so, since being inseparable from us, they receive new contact with our divine being. This is why, in following the acts of my divine volition, you always find new surprises and comprehend new things that our works possess. Now, you must know that when we issued the creation from within the womb of our divinity, because it was already inside of us ab eterno, there's a footnote here regarding the words ab eterno, meaning from eternity. Because it was already inside of us ab eterno, from eternity, in letting it out of our fiat, we also put out within a sea of love all that the creature was to do. Therefore, everything came out of us, and we would offer to her everything that she was supposed to do. Hence, the whole creation is crammed with all the works that must be done unto the last man. And even though this is invisible to human eyes, it is visible and palpitating for us in our will, forming a creation more beautiful than creation itself. There are 2 footnotes regarding the words creation in the last sentence. The first creation refers to the spiritual creation of all the acts of creatures. The second creation refers to the material creation. Reading it again. Hence, the whole creation is crammed with all the works that must be done unto the last man. And even though this is invisible to human eyes, it is visible and palpitating for us in our will, forming a spiritual creation of all the acts of creatures, more beautiful than the material creation itself. And our love for it is so great that while this creation occupies the whole atmosphere, we bring it into our divine bosom. And as we deliver the creatures to daylight, so do we begin to offer to them, with our own creative hands, all that they must do. As principle of each of their acts, We place the life of our Fiat as the foundation, and our love as the nourishment for the act. Because we do nothing, nor do we give anything, if it does not have our will as principle, and our love as food and provision. It would not be a work worthy of our supreme height, to give works which have nothing of our life, and which do not possess our food, which is love. The whole of creation, together with all the acts that the human generations were supposed to do, was a birth, which we held within our divine womb ab eterno. And our love, unable to contain it any longer, for it felt the need to deliver of it, wanted to pour itself out. And since, when we do an act, we do a complete act, in issuing the creation, we also issued everything that the creature was supposed to do. Our divine Fiat, enclosing everything within itself, creation and human acts, placed itself in waiting to deliver the creature to daylight, so as to administer to her the acts that belong to her. Is this not an exuberant love, which only a God could have, to order and form the acts, and then to deliver to the light the creature who was to use those acts as formation of sanctity, of love, of glory for herself and for he who had created her? But this is not all. Our love never stops. As this birth came out of us, we also issued from ourselves a dose of our power, in order to sustain the creature and her acts, arming and equipping them with divine power. Therefore, she has our power that sustains her. We also issued the dose of our wisdom, by which her intelligence and all of her acts were to be animated. So, if new sciences, new inventions and discoveries, almost incredible, can be seen in the creature, it is because of our wisdom that invests her. In the same way, we put out a dose of love, of sanctity, of goodness, and of all our attributes, in order to administer to her love, sanctity, goodness, and so forth. Man did not exist yet, and we were already busy with him. In him we longed for our power, wisdom, love, sanctity, and goodness, placing ourselves at his disposal to make him as beautiful as we could, and say to him, "You are like us in everything. We could not have made you more beautiful." The fact that we put out our divine qualities, and all the acts that man was to do, even before he came out to the light of time, was for us a love so intense as to seem incredible. In our delirium of love, we kept saying, "Oh man, how much I love you! I love you in my power. I love you in my wisdom, in my love, in my sanctity. I love you in my goodness, and even in the acts that you will do. I love you so much that I place them all in waiting for you." Our divine volition, to which we entrusted everything, our divine qualities, as well as the very acts which will be yours, is in act of handing them all to you as the outpouring of its love for you. Now, you must know that our Supreme Being possesses by nature an act ever new. Therefore, these acts that are established for each creature will be new and distinct from one another, distinct in their sanctity, ever new in their beauty, one more beautiful than the other, new in the love, in the power, new in the goodness. These are acts formed and nourished by us. Therefore, they possess all our characteristics, all beautiful, varied in sanctity, love, and beauty, each one different from the other. They will be our order, the type of our diverse beauties, the fecundity of our love, the harmony of our wisdom, just as it appears in the creation, in which all our works, all of them, are beautiful. But the sky is not sun, the wind is not sea, the flowers are not fruits. And yet, though distinct among themselves, they are all beautiful. Even more, they form the harmony of the varied beauties, true image of the acts and of the creatures themselves. You must know that these acts in my divine will form an army of new beauties, of new love and sanctity, such that by just looking at them, we feel enraptured, and we anxiously wait for creatures to come, who, by possessing our will, shall be endowed with them and shall possess them. See then how certain it is that its kingdom will come upon earth. Its acts already exist, and they shall be unleashed from within my will like a noble army, and shall let themselves be possessed by the creatures. My daughter, the creation came out from within my fiat, and every one and everything must return into my will as a work worthy of our power. And only when we recognize ourselves in the creature and in her acts, then will we remain fully glorified. We can give everything, and she can receive it all, as long as our divine will reigns. But if it does not reign, she forms an abyss of distance between herself and us, and there is nothing we can give her. But this is not all yet, my daughter. Since it is a firm decision to give the kingdom of our will to creatures, we want them to know the goods contained in it, and where their acts, done in our divine will, can reach. In fact, if they do not know its goods, we will have many blind, deaf, mute children, unable to speak of their Creator, and not knowing these goods, neither will they love or appreciate what they possess. But in our will, all have a clear sight, a fine hearing, and a speech animated by creative strength. Therefore, they will be so eloquent as to always have something to say, so much so that all will remain astounded, and the very heavens, delighted, will lower themselves to listen to them. The children of my will shall be the joy of all, and the true narrators of their Creator. Only then will we find some who are capable of speaking about us, since it is not they who will speak, but my will itself shall be speaking within them. Our will, which alone is able, and knows how to speak of our Supreme Being. Therefore, keep listening to me. As soon as the creature will possess our volition, all her acts, small and great, human and spiritual, will be animated by my will. These acts, animated by my will, shall rise between heaven and earth, shall invest and braid together the sky, the sun, the stars, and all creation. Then they will rise even higher, and will invest all the acts of the Queen of Heaven, identifying themselves with them. These acts shall have the power to invest the acts of our divinity, our joys and beatitudes, as well as those of all the saints. And once they have enclosed everything within themselves, without leaving anything out, they shall present themselves victoriously before our Divine Majesty, and shall offer them to us as complete acts, which lack nothing. Oh, what joy, what glory for us, in finding in these acts the sky, the sun, all the acts of the Queen of Heaven, the love with which she loved us, our own acts, our joys, and our unceasing love. These acts done in our will redouble for us the glory of creation. They redouble the glory and the love that the Sovereign Queen gave us. They redouble our glory and the glory of all the saints. It is enough to say that our will has entered into this, to say everything, for it encloses everything. Wherever our will enters, it knows how to make a fury of love and of glory, centralizing itself in everything. After all, everything is its own, so it holds the right over all. Now, the wonders that these acts done in my will form in the soul are unspeakable. Our divine Fiat uses them as means to form seas of love. Not seas that murmur, but seas that speak, and speak with such eloquence about our love, pleasing us so very much that we want to keep listening to them, always. The voices of this creature are wounds that she sends us. Her words are darts. She has always something to say about the story of our love, and because we like it so much, we remain always attentive in listening to her, for we want to miss nothing of what regards our love. How beautiful it is to hear the creature who possesses our sea of speaking love, always speaking about our love. So, being the possessor of the creature who lives in it, my will is up to things of every stripe. It forms the works that speak of our works, the steps that speak of our ways. In sum, since our will is word, wherever it reigns, it gives speech to all that the creature does, making of it a divine prodigy. Therefore, there is nothing greater, holier, more beautiful, that glorifies us more than the living in our will. Nor is there any good greater than this, that we can give to the creature. Hence, be attentive and follow me, if you do not want to stop my speaking. Fiat. October 12th, 1937. The prayers of one who lives in the divine volition are commands, and her acts are messengers between heaven and earth. For the soul who lives in the divine will, all things become will of God. I am at the mercy of the divine will. I feel its longing, its yearning of love, or it wants to make itself known, not to be feared, but to be loved and possessed, to let the creature be identified with it, and to say to her, "Let us live life together, so that whatever I do, you will do as well." I feel that my love gives me the need to live heart to heart, or rather, one single heart with you. Oh, please do not deny me your company. I know that you lack many things to be able to live together with me. But do not fear. I will take care of everything. I will clothe you with my royal garments of light. I will arm you with my power. I will display my love to you, making the life and the love of my will flow within the inmost fibers of your being. If only you want it, all is done. I remained surprised, and I prayed that he would give me the grace to live of divine will, because I greatly feared myself. And my sweet Jesus, making me his short little visit, all goodness told me, "My little daughter of my volition, why do you fear? In my will there are no fears, but highest love, courage, and firmness. Once it has decided, it never moves. More so, since the soul who lives in it does not pray, but commands, and she herself can take, as the owner, whatever she wants. We place everything at her disposal, and this because all is sacred and holy in her. More so, since by living in our will, she will not want, nor will she ever take or command anything but what we ourselves want. Therefore, her commands delight us, make us joyful, and we ourselves say, "Take. Tell us, what else do you want?" The more you take, the more you make us happy. When the creature wants our will, all her acts are like many messengers between heaven and earth. They go up and down continuously, acting now as messengers of peace, now of love, now of glory. Sometimes they reach the point of even commanding the divine justice to stop, taking its just fury upon themselves. How much good do these messengers do? When we see them coming before our throne, we recognize ourselves in these acts, which, disguised by the human veils of the acts of the creatures, hide our own will. But it is always our will. And delighted we say, "What an art of love it has! It hides inside the acts of the creatures, so as not to be recognized. But we recognize it anyway, and since it is ourselves loving, we let it do whatever it wills. Therefore, we call these acts our acts, and we recognize them as such, although the creature concurred in them, and with her acts she has given our will the clothing with which to cover itself. Hence, she is the support on which my divine will can lean, and it delights in carrying out its life, making unheard of prodigies, hiding within the creature, as though covering itself with her guises. More so, since the creation and all creatures received their origin from its fiat, and they live, grow, and are preserved in it. The fiat is actor and spectator of all their acts. They will carry out their lives in the fiat, and will fly to heaven in an act wanted by its will. So everything belongs to it. All the rights are its own. No one can escape it. The only difference is that one who lives in it lives life together with it, knows it, is aware of what it does, delights it with her company, and forms its joy and the confirmation of what my will wants to do in her. On the other hand, one who does not live in it does not know it. She remains isolated and forms its continuous sorrow. After this, he added with unspeakable tenderness of love, "My blessed daughter, how beautiful it is to live in my will! This creature keeps us always in feast. She knows nothing other than our will, and everything becomes will of God for her. Her suffering, divine will. Her joy, her heartbeat, breathing, and motion become divine will. Her steps, her works, feel the steps of my will and the sanctity of the works of my fiat. The food she takes, her sleep, the most natural things, become will of God for her. In whatever she sees, feels, and touches, she sees, feels, and touches the palpitating life of my will. My will keeps her so occupied and invested with itself that jealous, it does not allow even the air not to be divine will. And just as for the creature, everything is our will, so it is for us. We feel her in the whole of our divine being, in the heartbeat and in the motion. And we can do nothing, nor do we want to do anything without the creature who lives in our will. Our love is such that we make her flow within all our works, and together with us, she maintains and participates in our creative and preserving act. So, she is together with us, doing what we do, and wanting what is wanted by us. Nor can we put her aside, since one is the will that we possess, one the love, one the act that we do. The living in our will is precisely this: to live always together, to do one single thing. And this was the need that our love felt: to have the company of the creature, to delight together, to keep her on our lap in order to make each other happy. And since the creature is small, we want to give her our will in order to have the occasion, in each of her acts, to give her our life, our act, our manners, ours by nature, hers by grace. This is our joy and our greatest glory. Do you think it is trivial for us to give our being in such a way that the creature, unable to contain it because she is small, would give it back to us again, together with herself, and we, in turn, give ourselves again? It is a continuous giving of oneself to each other, and this makes such love and glory arise that we feel as though repaid by her for having given her life. Hence, each thing she does, without letting our will enter, is a tearing that we feel, a right that we feel is being taken away from us, a glory and a joy that we lose. Therefore, be attentive and let everything become divine will for you. Furthermore, for each act the creature does in our divine volition, we redouble our love toward her. As this love invests her, it brings with it our sanctity, goodness, and wisdom. So she remains doubled in sanctity, in goodness, and in the knowledge of her Creator. And as we love her with doubled love, so does she love us with double love, with double sanctity and goodness. Our love is an operative love, and as it departs from our Supreme Being, in order to love the creature with doubled love, so does it give her the grace to love us with ever-growing love. Not to add something more to an act made so great by our will is impossible for us. We can say that these acts are the capturers of our love. They capture our sanctity and form their ways to get to know who we are and how much we love her. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 35, Part 4. Fiat.